Last year alone, 115 soldiers took their own lives. That's the most ever recorded in the United States Army. And until now, no one, not a single soldier, has come forward to talk openly on camera about that new trend.
You know, you start thinking about death and how can I kill myself, and you know, and then that became my preoccupation.
For Emily Stair, death was a real possibility.
I just didn't care anymore.
She lived through war in one of Iraq's most volatile regions. It's when combat ended, the fight for her life began.
I got back from the deployment and I thought, oh, I'll be normal. And it just never got normal. It just got worse.
Wow.
Like many U.S. soldiers, Emily and her friends recorded parts of their 15-month deployment.
Say hi to your people.
Their minds recorded all of the war. And unlike the camera,
Did you turn it off?
Emily couldn't turn it off.
It was like I was still in Iraq. And my body was here, but my mind was still there.
The happiness of her homecoming was short-lived. Her life at risk of the same. Emily was depressed.
The trigger was the deployment, just all the stuff that happened. Patients getting killed and killing themselves and getting blown up.
As a physical therapist, Emily felt she was fighting a battle she could not win.
I felt like we were patching patients back together just to put them back and then to go out and get blown up again.
The stress of war was spilling into the rest of her life. Her mind more worn than her boots. Emily was facing an ultimatum.
I knew that, you know, either I was going to get help or kill myself.
What happened next is perhaps the only reason Emily is alive to talk to us today.
I had to learn at the hospital that I was sick. I am sick.
Emily checked herself into the psychiatric ward at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center. That's when she realized the widespread problem of Army suicides.
And there was people in Landstuhl from Africa, Afghanistan, Iraq, all over.
She says it's not easy to admit her near suicide.
There's a lot of shame with that and weakness. You know, that's perceived as weakness. And that's how I felt. I felt weak.
Numbers show she is not alone. So far this year, there have been 38 confirmed suicides.
You know, it's undeniable. There is an impact, you know, on war. There is an impact on the combat and people's experiences of loss and suffering.
Jimmy Nichols is an Army chaplain, often considered a first responder to preventing suicide. But sometimes, even the help needs help.
For those who have never been there, they just don't understand.
Nichols says he was also depressed after his last deployment. He, like Emily, is not ashamed to talk about it.
For someone to come forward like this and to just be honest about their depression and how far it led them, it can only help. It's a step in the right direction. And I think we're moving there as an Army.
There's something to be said about somebody saying, hey, I've been there. I've wanted to kill myself. I sometimes still want to kill myself. You know, and don't do it.
The real enemy for soldiers who won't seek mental help is well known, and many fear it more than war itself.
I think the stigma is alive and well. And for me, personally, I don't mind being the one to kind of break through the ceiling or whatever, just because I am still fighting for my life, and I'm here, you know, I'm still here and I'm living, and that for me is enough.
Many soldiers are afraid if they admit mental illness, their jobs will be on the line. Emily wants to change that.
So if somebody sees this interview and says, well, Captain Stair, you're out of the Army because you talked about suicide, I would say, okay, you know, at least I'm still alive. And if I helped somebody, you know, if I helped somebody make a choice to stay alive, then it was worth it.
Emily says sharing her story gives her a sense of purpose.
I'm glad that I have the opportunity to come out and talk about it, where I don't have to fear retribution. And I've been endorsed by my unit to go out and speak the truth about this experience, just because it's not a unique experience. It's something that's affecting the Army.
She still struggles and still feels the stress of combat, sometimes to the point that she is a stranger in her own skin.
You know, it's not over. And I don't know if it'll ever be over for me. I mean, I don't know if I'll be normal for me like I was pre-deployment. I don't know if that's ever going to come back. It's not back yet.
Now, Emily's decision to come forward and speak on camera very candidly about her near suicide was an effort to reach other soldiers, other troops in her shoes. She's been in the Army for 8 years and says she plans to make it a career. Even after all of this, she says, quote, "I love the Army."